Hi everyone, Mark here at the Ponderosa. Today we are in the kitchen and we are going to be canning peaches. As you can see, we had a bumper crop of peaches this year. This is just one day's haul between these two baskets. I just weighed them. It's 13, almost 14 pounds, about 6 kilograms of peaches for just one day. Now we're right at the end of the harvest. We got another day or two. These are very ripe. They're not going to last very long, and obviously we can't eat this many in a couple days. So I'm going to be canning them. I'm going to be making peach preserves. And I've got all my equipment here. Some pectin. This helps it, turns it into jelly. So I'll cook up the peaches, add some of this, and put it into the jars. Brand new canning jars. I'm going to be putting these into the dishwasher, get them all cleaned up and sterilized. This is for grabbing the jar and pulling it out of hot water. And this is a canning funnel. You stick this in the top of the jar and then you scoop the preserves into here, put the lid on, and put it in the hot water to get a canning funnel. Trust me, it's worth it. Alright, so we've got everything set, ready to go. Alright, so let's get started. Alright, as you can see, we have a very nice haul. This is just one basket. We have another basket full, and that's just from today. And the first thing I'm going to do is give each one of these a good rinse. Clean it off really good. The skin's going to come off anyway, but just make sure there aren't any little bits of debris embedded in there. Make sure that it hasn't been pecked at or it's in bad condition. Get rid of any that look like they don't belong and get those all cleaned up. And then we're going to the next step, removing the skins. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do actually is squeeze some lemon juice. And I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I do need some lemons because the lemon juice activates the pectin. So I'm just gonna cut one of these up. We'll need about, I think, 5 or 6 tablespoons, so about a quarter cup. Now there's pectin in the skin of the peach, so if we left the skins in, or we wouldn't need the pectin, but then that would be gross because the skins would be in there. So we just use a store-bought pectin, and I'm going to call that good though. It's about a quarter cup right there. So 2 lemons was all we needed. Alright, on to the next step. Removing the skins of the peaches. Alright, so the next step, I'm going to remove the skin from each peach and then remove the pit. Now, if we leave the skin on, it has pectin in it, but it would be really bitter by the time you get around to eating it. Now, usually for this step, I'm going to do it over this. Usually for this step, you would put this in hot water for a minute or two, then into ice water, and it would peel off. But as you can see, these are so ripe that the skin's just peeling right off. So no need to boil them, and that's going to save me a whole bunch of time. Alright, now I'm using this measuring cup because I need this thing full to make one batch. Every once in a while I am just throwing in a dash of the lemon juice, just a teaspoon at a time. That helps keep this fresh and bright yellow. Otherwise it turns into ugly kind of brown. Alright, so just keep splashing that in, and then I'll throw in the pectin later after we cook it. Oh, and I also have to throw this in. This is ascorbic acid, vitamin C. I'm going to throw this in at the end to help you keep it fresh. Alright, I've got about 8 cups here. It's about 2 quarts. And that is enough to get a batch started. Gonna throw in the rest of the lemon juice and a little bit of the ascorbic acid, citric acid there to keep it fresh looking and bright and juicy. Now that does not look like enough to fill 8 jars. It's supposed to fill 8 jars. That's not going to fill 8 jars. So I am going to do another batch. And okay, so we've got all the peaches peeled, got some lemon juice, some ascorbic acid. Now we're going to put in the pectin. We're doing a triple batch. We're going to do 3. There's 1. And we'll stir them in as they go in. Make sure they get nice and mixed in. Oh, this is going to be really nice. This is the pectin. This is the thing that's going to make it kind of like jelly, although we're not using quite as much sugar, so it's going to be more like preserves or a jam. Try to get the peels out. The peels will leave kind of a bitter taste in the jam. Okay, now one thing I learned from the past, the most important thing is to keep stirring this. If you leave it just sitting here with the flame on, it burns on the bottom and it ruins the whole batch. I did that with a batch of plums last year. Alright. Right, so this is starting to heat up quickly, so I'm going to keep it going, keep it moving. Alright, you got to keep stirring to make sure it doesn't burn to the bottom. And in the meantime, we're going to bring it to a boil. This recipe suggests putting a pat of butter to keep it from foaming. So we'll let that melt in. And there is going to be more volume here because we're going to put sugar in. That's going to add another 3 or 4 cups. It's almost there. It's got to come to a full boil, it says. And it keeps boiling even after you stir it. Still going even after I stir. Alright. So now we're going to add the sugar, and it's going to seem like a lot of sugar. So it's 3 cups. That's literally only about 1/4 of what they wanted me to put in here. So this is actually the low sugar. Now this is the tricky part. Now there's all that sugar in here. You have to be very careful. You don't let it burn. I'm going to put in 1 more cup. So total 4 cups sugar to 12 cups of peaches. We got to bring it back to a vigorous boil, and then exactly 1 minute. It's very specific about this. Return to full roiling boil, and then boil exactly 1 minute. Stir constantly. So I'm going to need a timer when this. Don't overdo it. Okay, I'm going to call this full roiling boil. Let's go. 1 minute. It's time to open the dishwasher. As you can see, it has been sanitized. So let's open that up. Well, there's our precious jars. I would like to have a couple of half-pint jars to begin with. These are the half-pint jars. It's always best to have a couple ready. So let's have a couple ready. The bands. And I need lids, a bunch of them, so I'll just grab all these, put these on the top. You're going to hear some fans going in the background. This is a lot of hot boiling liquid, so you're going to want a fan to keep it cool in there. Alright, so I've got my jar, I've got my canning funnel. I put the funnel into the jar, and I'm going to take a scoop of the peaches with this special metal ladle that I use just for canning. It holds about a pint. I'm just going to fill that up, and just a little bit more. I want to get to the very bottom of that funnel because that's right where the top of the jar is. And you want to leave just about a 1/4 inch, no more than a 1/2 inch, no more than a centimeter, but about 5 millimeters is even better. Now put a lid on, and then a band, and then just finger tight it. Don't crank it down just about that much. Oops, that's too much. But you need to have it a little bit loose so that when I put it in the hot boiling water, it's going to force the air out and create a vacuum. So we put in the boiling water. We're going to leave it in there for about 10 minutes. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of air bubbles coming out from underneath the edge of the lids, so that's good. We're forcing the air out so we get a nice good vacuum seal in there. And then these are special kind of lids that have a little lump in the middle. So that when they cool off, this will pull down like that. So that's how you know that it's vacuum sealed. And then when you open it up, it's going to pop back up. So looks like we got a nice little boil going here. I'm going to start up a timer for 10 minutes. Now that it's been boiling for about 10 minutes, I'm going to turn down the heat and remove each jar using my tool and set it down on a dry towel to cool overnight. They're very hot, so it's going to take a few hours to cool off to room temperature. In the middle of each lid, you'll notice a little bump, and as it cools off, that bump is going to make an audible noise when it pops down. So I'm going to listen for that noise so that I know that they're cooling off and that they've got a vacuum seal. Here, let's listen for the noise. And it's always a good idea to tap them to see if any of them are loose, just to double check. And then tighten down those bands now. Really crank them down because they're going to stay closed until you use it. And now we are finished. My secret ingredient, I'm going to add the juice of 2 habanero peppers. Alright folks, well that's it for this episode. Obviously I'm going to do the same thing with these last 4. I'm going to let them boil for 10 minutes. Let them cool overnight. Move them to a cupboard out of the pantry. Let them cool off. And they should be ready by the end of the year. In the meantime, thanks for watching another episode of Ponderosa Garden Adventures. We'll see you next time.